Got it. Okay, looks like it should be okay now. No? Yes? Here's Aaron.
I don't think it is doing. It says it is, but I don't think it is.
There will be a delay, obviously, before it goes live. Yeah. Okay. Right, welcome everybody. To note, this is a working party, so anything we decide here has to go to full council for approval. Usual thing about the clerk being able to take any urgent actions if need be. So, item 2, apologies for absence, please.
We have apologies from Councillor Furman, Councillor Marks, Councillor Roach and Councillor Mason.
Okay, thank you very much. Declarations of interest and requests for dispensations. Anybody? No, can't see anything. Minutes of the last meeting held on the Tuesday, the 8th of March. Have you got those available, please, Colin?
Yep.
Somewhere. Okay. If everybody's read them, can I have a proposer, please? Councillor David Smith. Seconder, please. Councillor Tony Brown. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Number 5, to take notes of the actions, page 131 we just looked at. 132.
So the notice board for the kiosk is on its way.
Okay. Moving down. Where we go? Any answer from? What have we?
I think councillors will probably be aware of the answer, which is that West Suffolk currently have no plans to create a changing space facility in Haverhill. I'm sure Councillor Smith, you may recall, mentioned this at full council that West Suffolk failed to apply for a changing spaces grant when the opportunity arose.
Yeah.
I understand it's their intention to do so as soon as the opportunity arises.
Yeah. I have got, we mentioned about the budget, and I think it's 2024, 25 or something about that for renovating all the toilets. Maybe they'll do it then. Okay, moving down, 1 through 33.
That was just a general thing that officers to remain mindful. And I can report we've been very mindful.
Nice to hear. 134, nothing on there. And the rest of it was just the submitted report. That's what I'm looking for. So assuming nobody's got any comments on those, thank you very much. Right, moving on to item number 6, which is the splash. Sorry, put the teeth back in. Splash pad. Colin.
Yes, so there's when we opened the splash pad, we agreed opening times as 10 till 6 p.m. On weekends only. And then it would also be open at bank holidays and, of course, during the school holidays between the 1st of April and the 3rd of September. But otherwise, Monday to Friday, it wouldn't be open. And obviously, it wouldn't be open between the 1st of October and the 31st of March. We have, just say the actual, I mean, John probably can describes it better than me. The timer that we actually have on the splash pad, I don't think is actually capable of setting those parameters. Is that right, John?
Well, I had a quick look at it late on Sunday night. It was getting dark, so I couldn't really see very well. But I got a feeling it probably has got it, a bit like a timer on a central heating system. Because I could see there's a button there that said something about set the day or copy from one day to another and that sort of thing. So I suspect it has, and it may even have the capability of saying, I don't know, on at 10, off at 12, on at 3, off at 6 type thing.
Okay. Well, if it has, then the next bit of the discussion is, do we want to nail that down so that the sign that sat outside the splash pad is what actually happens? At the moment, there's two kind of competing forces, if you like. We have the first is that parents of some preschoolers have made what I think is a perfectly valid point, that when the big kids are at school, it's actually a safe and pleasant experience for their youngsters to use the splash pad. The yang to that yin is that I noticed when I drove past it last week that there were a bunch of teenagers fully dressed. They were busy pressing buttons, spraying water at each other, etc. That's entertainment. If that's what they want to do, that's absolutely great. I mean, we're not going to stand there and tell people how to have fun, but it may not necessarily be what we consider to be a good use of the water supply that the taxpayers of Haverhill are paying for. John can advise on the sort of water usage that the splash pad gets through. And clearly, 2 days a week, plus bank holidays and the summer holidays, Easter, May half term, compared to the whole thing being open effectively every single day, you're talking about potentially twice as much water being used if we leave the settings as they are than if we lock it down to what the sign says. And the question for councillors, of course, at the end of the day, it's what you want us to do. If you want us to leave it free for everyone, because nobody's going to be there to say you're not a preschooler, you can't use it. So it's either available or it's not available on certain days of the week. I know whether John wants to just detail the sort of water usage.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going down once a week on a Sunday night, which is when all the statistics reset themselves at midnight. So I've been capturing it before it resets. Interesting, take last week as an example. Monday was bank holiday, relatively quiet, but we've seen this even over Easter weekend. But we saw a lot of people had gone away. Even the zone, as you'll see in the report later on, mentioned that. But I saw that when I went to film the Panto at Southwold, it was dead. So, as an example, Tuesday, Wednesday last week, we were using between 2.5, 3 tons of water, or 2,500 litres, if you like, or tonnies. But come right up to the Sunday when we use 17 tonne or 17,000 litres of water. However, I did do some, before that, a few days, maybe not the week before, but the week before that, I did go down like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and took a snapshot. And it was, I can't remember, something like about 7 or 8 tons, something like that. And then 2 hours later, we'd use 16 tons, which is when I think those, as Colin was saying, those teenagers were coming out and just pressing the buttons. But I say the cafe mentioned it as well, the kiosk rather. The fact that there was loads of older people just pressing buttons and not even getting wet, just standing there just for the fun of it. And I do have a slight problem with that. And you can't stop that, of course. I did wonder whether we ought to be flexible in this. Obviously, we're talking about weekends, bank holidays, and everything. I think we ought to be opening every day of the week, because those people who drop their kids off at 9 o'clock in the morning to school, it's an ideal time to go take those very young kids there with no fear of anybody else being there. And I do wonder whether we ought to be flexible in the sense that, maybe open, I don't know, I'm going to give exactly, I don't know, 9 till 11, and maybe 2 till 4, 2 till 5 or something. But leave it totally flexible. We know we don't want to have to, as councillors, I don't think we ought to be saying, right, we want it 9 till 6, because if we want to change it later on, we have to go back and do it again. So I think it should be down to officers to decide really what they want to do. But I see Laura would like to speak. Laura?
Thank you. So I agree that I think it's actually a really good idea to have it open sort of during the school time for preschoolers. I think that if we've got concerns about water usage, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5 days a week. It could be 4 days a week or 3 days a week, if that would improve things. Obviously, as long as parents knew which days it was going to be open, it wouldn't have to be every single day. As far as the whole kind of idea of sort of maybe 9 till 11 and then 2 till 5, the only thing I would say with that is that you might have people who can't get out of the house until 10:30, and then that, I think it would be better to have fewer days, but the whole day, to allow people to not have the stress of trying to fit into a smaller time slot. And as far as the teenagers go, I am very against water wastage, but I do think that is quite a good sort of fairly harmless place for teenagers to be hanging around. Obviously, there's a lot worse they could be getting up to. I would say maybe we could put a sign on, somewhere near the buttons, just saying, please be aware of, water usage due to the environment, which, may not stop them, but it may make the more conscientious ones think twice about repeatedly pressing the button. But I definitely don't think that teenagers misusing it should be a reason to limit timings at all.
Okay. Councillor Lucarini.
Yeah, personally, I'd support it being open all the time. We've paid a lot of money to have this put in place. There was quite a lot of comments on Facebook about the kind of demand for it to be open more hours. I think we have to remember as well that in terms of water usage, it is still new. So I don't know, there's probably going to be slightly higher demand this year because it's new. But as we go forward, I'm sure it'll probably even out a little bit more.
Councillor, thanks, Councillor Lucarini. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I would go with it, after hearing everyone's comments and giving it a lot of thought and seeing the sort of how things have been going. I would really think it's a good idea to have it open all the time. Water usage, okay, what we're hoping is that people coming down to there won't be having paddling pools and such like at home. I know we're paying for the water, but I'm hoping the impact in the environment is, neutral, and also hopefully, people won't be jumping in their cars and going to the one at Royston, Cambridge, Newmarket, etc., as I know that they did do before. So hopefully we get an environmental benefit from that. But also being open every day, it's the great community benefit. I mean, say we said it was just open on a Wednesday and Wednesday is raining or whatever, and then Monday and Tuesday have been absolutely full on sun. I think we'd end up coming into some sort of disrepute. People would say, well, it wasn't open, it's lovely days, we're going to go out with the children. So I would say, and I was down Friday looking at it, and relatives of mine have been down, in the week, etc. Saying there isn't that many people using it, so hopefully, there wouldn't be a lot of water being used, but it's there for, say, parents coming out of school, as Laura highlighted, with little youngsters. I think, we'll nip over there, have a cup of coffee. And that's the other thing, is that the kiosk going to be open every day. That will hopefully encourage more people to go down and use the kiosk as well, so we'll get the benefit from there. And I absolutely agree with what Laura said around having a sign up there just to say, something around the environmental impact, and please don't, use the water unnecessarily. We're all working for a better environment, something along those lines. I'm sure Laura could come up with something, just to sort of get it in people's minds, and that could possibly make a difference. But I'm wholeheartedly behind it being open every day. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bank. Councillor David Smith.
Thanks. Yeah, just echo everything that's been said so far. Really, I think the issue around the teenagers, it's a novelty thing at the moment. I think that'll soon wear off when they get fed up with getting wet or whatever. But yeah, I think the longer we can have it open, it'll benefit really. So,
Okay, Councillor, I think Liz, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, it's the actual one for battery for the mouse.
All right.
The battery in the mouse has gone. Sorry. Yeah, I think I agree with what Laura was saying about having a sign, I think, for the teenagers. Some of them may be conscientious about, you know, wastage and things. So that would be a good idea. And I think if we can do it full, you know, all the time, that would be brilliant. Obviously, bearing in mind the cost of the water, etc. So perhaps we can review it from time to time. But I think, yeah, having it open all the time would be good.
Colin, just I did look it up on the Anglian Water website. I don't know if we pay for sewerage on this particular supply or not. I know you don't have to all the time. I worked it out, but it's about roughly about 186, £2 a tonne.
Yeah, that's basically what we've been working on as well. For the kind of lighter days, we're on target for what we budgeted, but for the heavy usage, it significantly pushes past. Can I just clarify when we're saying open all the time? I take it you don't mean that literally, that we remove all the timers. So it's got 24/7 usage. So are we saying stick to the times, the 10 till 6, but actually change it from being weekends only to being to just remove that to just it's open 10 till 6?
I wonder if we could just rationalise that a little bit. And I know the kiosk doesn't open till 10 o'clock officially. Whether we could bring the earlier morning forward and the closure at 6, because the kiosk is shut by 4:30, 5 o'clock. Whether do we want?
It's the early morning inspection.
I know it is. That's why I realised that. But because of course it starts regardless of whether you have that inspection or not.
Well, it starts, yes, but that doesn't mean that we can't actually kind of intervene and remove anything dangerous or unpleasant that's been placed there.
I see Aaron and Laura got their hand, but I was going to suggest that we have a flexible time decided by office between 0900 and 1800. Would that work well?
I don't know what you mean by a flexible time.
Let me see what Councillor Lucarini first, then Councillor Miller-Jones.
Yeah, for me, when I was saying all the time, I was kind of thinking between Easter and the end of summer, and between the hours that we're doing now up till 6 o'clock each day. I don't see the need. Obviously, if you go before Easter, it's pretty cold, and beyond 6 o'clock in the evening, there's very limited days where you probably still want to be out at 6 in the evening, only in the height of summer.
That's right. I've lost a minute. Laura, there you go. There you are.
Yeah, so I wonder whether we would be able to do different times depending on whether it's sort of spring or summer or kind of early autumn. I mean, I know we don't want to make it too complicated, but I think, 10 till 5 or, 9 till 6 or, somewhere in that region is great for sort of spring and sort of the end, kind of the end after the summer, sort of September time. But I think maybe in the very peak of summer, it might be nice to open it a bit later, because it can be hot until sort of 7, 8 sort of when it's sort of real. So would it be possible to maybe say, we'll do sort of whatever 9:30 till 5:30 or something during spring, but then change that to sort of 9 till 7 or something during midsummer?
Yeah. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. So basically the summer holidays that we extend, the time till say 8 o'clock or something like that, just during the summer holidays. That makes sense. So have it 10 till 6 on all other days, and then when it actually gets to the summer holidays, which is obviously midsummer, is to have an extra 2 hours up to 8 o'clock. I don't know if that'd work.
Yeah, we just got to be conscious. I mean, I fully support the opening. I'm just very conscious of the cost. That's all. Because if you're using 17 tonne a day, that's £34 a day.
Yeah, it's only on the busy days, John.
Yeah, but on a week like last week, that was 5 out of the 7 days.
Yeah, well, it's only not even the equivalent of one council employee.
Okay, I didn't understand that one.
That's a new unit of
No, the
measurement.
cost. Yeah, no, I'm not about the cost. It's for the benefit that it's bringing the town and the amount of money that's been invested in the splash pad. To see it on a roasting hot day or evening.
No. I'm just conscious of the cut because, as Colin says, it was budgeted at X.
Yeah,
and we
well,
might,
it's like all of these things. Let's see how it goes over the course of a year, and we can tweak things, etc. On the basis of the information that we get. I'd hate for it to be the town to invest a couple of $100,000 in something, and then it's sitting there on a very hot day with frustrated residents who've invested heavily in this, sitting there thinking, why can't it be on?
No, that's fine. We have, just as an aside, we have made some slight changes to the timings and the jet heights, if you like, because they were very high after it was commissioned again for the spring. Obviously, the new water pipe's going to come in. That may actually use more water because of the fact that people are not waiting around for the tank to fill up again. But that'd be interesting. Since we did those adjustments, though, I don't believe the tank is running out of water or getting down to the low level alarm. So hopefully that's better.
Yeah. So
did we want to leave it, basically propose that we leave it up to officers between what Councillor Miller-Jones mentioned about having flexible opening times? And
I think it makes it complicated if we have it, too flexible. I mean, let's have it from 10.
Sorry, Councillor Brown. So I don't mean every day of the week. I'm saying between, as Laura said, summer, spring, autumn.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about every. Okay. Yeah, I don't, because one of the problems is, I suspect, there's a problem with the programming of the daily, even if you tried the daily things.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that if it loses power, it loses those times. So.
Yeah, to be fair, I know a little bit about these timers. I presume it's very much the same as an irrigation timer. I would have thought that's what they've used on this.
It does, but can I interrupt? It's got no battery backup.
You can get battery backup.
I know we have, but we're looking into that at the moment.
Yeah, we do it with our pumping system and whatever. Even if it hasn't got the battery backup built in, you can have it so it goes through a device.
Oh yeah. No, we're already looking into that. I'm just saying at the moment that'd be a problem anyway.
Yeah, so they're infinitely programmable.
I don't think this one necessarily is, but anyway, well,
surprises me. Yeah,
it's quite complicated just to change the date on it.
Yeah, they're complicated. Once you got the hang of them, they're easy.
So, I'm quite happy to propose unless someone else wants to propose.
Sorry, can I just be clear what the proposal is? Because to be honest, proposing that you just delegate the decision back to us rather defeats the purpose of bringing the item to the councillors in the first place. Okay. What I'm hearing from councillors is a general agreement with Councillor Miller-Jones' proposal, which is it stays 10 till 6 for the outside, which is 1st of April to 30th of September, but then from effectively 1st to 31st of August, it's 10 till 8. Would that be an easy way of timing it?
Yeah, I'd agree with that totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just for that 1 month,
Well, the summer holiday start. Well, you could do it from I think it's the 27th of July is the summer holiday start, or something like that, is it? Or is it the week before?
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Miller-Jones.
Even though it's not the summer holidays, we could do it from the 1st of July for the extended times because it's still going to be really hot then. And I know that kids have bedtimes, so they might be less likely to use it. But I don't know, they also might because, some older kids will have later bedtimes. Just a thought.
Okay, make it 1st of July. Yeah.
All right, that's fine. So, Councillor,
I'm just thinking of the signage, just to make it really put what on the sign. It can't be too complicated.
No, exactly. Yeah.
No, by officers, I just basically meant within these parameters. I was thinking. Sorry, Councillor Dave Smith, I think I saw. Yeah.
I'm just thinking what sort of. I haven't got the chart with me. What one date? What do you call it? Sunset is towards the end of August. Creeping a bit. Could we say something like the bank holiday weekend at the end of August or something like that? So make I don't know.
Well, in Hayville, it's 10 to 8 at the end of August.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're getting sort of start darkness then if you say the whole of August. I think the bank holiday weekend is sort of like a good sort of cut-off point, because it will change dates every year, but we know that the Monday after the bank holiday Monday, then it will revert to 6 o'clock.
Okay.
That's the 29th is the bank holiday. Just a reminder, particularly during summer, although the sun sets, it doesn't get dark at this particular latitude, so straight away. So it would easily be still light for another half hour, 3/4 of an hour.
Mm.
Okay.
But yeah, if we make it 1st of July to the 29th of...
Yeah, bank holiday Monday,
Yeah.
Whatever time that is every year.
Yeah, well, the only thing is, how are we going to put that on a sign?
August until August bank holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about 4 inches longer than the date.
Yeah, wouldn't it be a lot easier? Just
I do the end of August.
Yeah, that's it. Just end of August. That's it. Yeah.
1st of August.
because then you
July.
can write just during July and August.
I'll do
It will be
that.
open till 8,
Yeah.
which is a lot easier.
Okay, right.
Okay. Can I have a proposal on that basis then, please, from somebody? Councillor Laura Miller, sorry, Councillor Miller Jones, sorry. Seconded, Tony Brown, Councillor Brown. So all those in favour, please show. I don't know about you, Councillor Carini, I can't see you. Don't know if you're there. Okay, doesn't matter.
Sarah, just whilst you're on the call, obviously Jeff designed the signs that are up. They'll need slight tweaking, and perhaps we can come up with a couple of fun signs to go on the fence that somehow perhaps mention kind of not wasting water. Yeah. I tried to. We just have to think of something that doesn't actually just put it into the minds of people. It hadn't occurred to them to see how long it takes them to drain the tank.
Will be too finger waggy.
No, we don't want finger waggy at all. Something fun.
You've got to say something. Please enjoy yourselves, but just give a thought for the environment, something like that along those lines.
And also the physical connections of the signs need to be a bit more resilient to people.
Do they?
Yeah, both the signs actually dropped down on the gates. The ones that say is only open April till thing, both of them dropped on down to the level because somebody had been playing around with the nuts on the back of them.
Okay.
I didn't even realise they were still on them.
No, well, they were until very recently.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Just a question on that. When it's 10 to 8, does that mean that the Melon crew will be staying open till 8 o'clock as well? Good. I was just wondering how that conversation was going to go.
Alternatively, yes, and you get to tell them.
You get an alcohol license.
No, we're not going to extend the opening hours of the kiosk. I think there is a general kind of understanding that if the kiosk is, for any particular reason, running full pelt when it approaches closing time, that it stays open in exactly the same way that if it's the most miserable day on earth, that they don't flog a dead horse, that they actually close up early.
Yeah, because remember, is it a Sunday they close at 2:30?
Yeah.
Something like that. I can't remember the exact time, but
If the kiosk does close for rain early, can we have a sign to say that so people don't think it's just arbitrary being closed, just so they know that it has been closed because of inclement weather? Just so they got it in their head.
can see Sarah scribbling away.
Yeah, because I know with the kiosk before, under previous ownership, it used to just be arbitrarily closed, etc., etc., and people would go down, give up going down there because they didn't know if it was open or not, or why it wasn't open, etc., etc.
That's because his lease didn't actually specify that he had to only open a few days a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Should we move on? Item number 7, anybody in the public area? Colin, I guess not. No, that's fine. Right, moving on to item 8. I think you're going to do a verbal report, Sarah, are you, on the Arts Centre?
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave
You can share a document if you want, though, Sarah.
Oh, okay, you got one.
No, it's
Oh.
fine. I'll do it verbally, and then I'll send the notes that I've done afterwards around so you can see them. So let's start off with some bad news. We haven't had a very good sales period at all. We've had struggles on quite a few shows, Goldilocks, for example, but I think maybe we put too many performances on, and if we'd stuck it to 2 or 4, we would have been better off. Booming Voices was poor. Standing gigs have been not great. Best of British, for example, and it's a little bit tough. But I think it's still we're getting over the COVID, and then every day when you turn the news on, people talk about the cost of living, which I wish they wouldn't, because if it wasn't mentioned every day, then people might not realise. But essentially, we're sort of a luxury item for people. So it's not surprising we're seeing a few struggles. The cinema has been okay. And we've had some good successes. And these are open mic nights, pop divas, country superstars, monkey nuts. So in this last period, we tried a different approach, and we didn't send the brochure out. We did it all by email. This time around, we're going to send the brochure out, and then we'll be able to do a nice exercise in comparing and contrasting and seeing what difference things make, what the end result of the different approaches are. So I'll give you an update on that later. So in terms of slightly more positive stuff that we're doing, we're keen to diversify our audiences. And so Ugna has been set a project within her apprenticeship coursework to run a whole project, and she's chosen to do one on young people. And so she's currently doing some market research on young people and their preferences, and she's going to use her own contacts and work with the schools. We've also worked quite closely with Karen recently with her young people and her youth skills. So we're hoping we can draw in some younger audiences there. Lizzie Cocker we're working with to bring in young people, or even younger people than young people, students really, in some dance workshops, and that's part of the scheme whereby they do some holiday activities and they get their lunches included. And Karen and I have met with Matthew Jones from the Colchester and Ipswich Museum Service, and he's been tasked with linking up the DWP with cultural activities, with the aim of trying to get people who are currently unemployed to see the cultural sector as a viable opportunity for them. And then we've come up with quite a cool idea whereby the job centre will use the cafe, say once a month, as their base. So everyone signing on would come into the cafe, they'd do all their sort of business there, and then we'd show them backstage or give them a cup of coffee or give them a free ticket to cinema or something like that, but just trying to get in new audiences and people that we haven't seen before. So I'm calling this one Museum of Modern Art Haverhill. So since the last Arts and Leisure meeting, when we talked about the Banksy project, we've met with the gallery owner. Margaret came along as well, and showed him the Gertine space, and he was quite positive about that. And over the last month, Damien Parker at West Suffolk has been crunching numbers and working on costs and all the practicalities, and we're due to meet with him next week. And in addition to the gallery space, on this meeting we held last month, everyone was quite enthused by the idea of having the gallery space as a sort of a daytime thing, but then moving people over to the Arts Centre. And again, this will be new audiences because we're hoping to get people from further afield than Haverhill, and having art history lectures or art practice lectures in the auditorium. And the aim, providing Damien gives us some good news, is to get tickets on sale in the autumn. And that would be, there'll be a whole load of joint marketing between Moyses Hall / the Apex and the National Horse Racing Museum and us. So it would be sort of a quite a wide reach. So that's the Modern Art Haverhill business. On the HR front, so Lisa Costa has been offered a full-time permanent position as the Arts Centre administrator. And as far as I can tell, there is no other screaming pressure points within the staffing at the moment. We've had a few points in time when we desperately needed bar staff or ushers, but I think we're on a fairly even keel at the moment. On the building front, so some tiles, this is a bit worrying, some tiles in the women's toilets, quite high up tiles, so they could possibly be dangerous, have started to fall from the walls. So Gary's checked the remaining tiles, and we've put some fixings on Kevin's job list, but it's a little bit worrying because there was no prior indication that they were going to fall off. While we're on the tile tip, the tiles in the outside alley are fixed. A quick note on programming. We've decided that programming...
Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah.
You say the tiles in the outside alley?
Yeah, you know where the bins are?
Yeah.
They were removed last night.
Oh, yeah, they were removed. They weren't fixed.
Oh, okay.
There's now a hole where they used to be.
My takeaway was it's safe to use that alley now.
Yeah. Could you just say in terms of the tiles in the toilet, because in the beginning of lockdown, we had exactly the same phenomena in the gents' toilet where something just fell off for no obvious reason, and none of the rest seemed remotely loose at all. Dumb question. Are the tiles back to back? Or are they different walls altogether?
They could be back to back. I don't know the exact site, but I think they are on that same wall. I don't know if they're.
Because usually damp is what blows tiles.
I'll have to go and look, but they are on that same opposite sides of the same wall.
Yeah.
But the worrying thing here was that they were high up, and so if they'd have fallen down, they would have cracked someone's head.
Should we be getting a professional tiler in who knows about damp walls and that sort of stuff?
I think, yeah, Gary can have a look at that. Yeah, definitely.
And then I've just got one other little thing. The programming, from September onwards is probably going to be handled by Daniel.
Okay.
And until that point, Gary and I are working with Picture House to program the films.
Before you carry on, Sarah, just Colin, could you for the benefit of anybody watching, can you explain that?
Yeah, so I was going to mention that actually after Sarah finished anyway, but so we're very pleased to say that following a recruitment round, Daniel Schumann has accepted the role of creative director and art centre manager, and he starts on the 6th of June. I think that's a really great result for the art centre, a really strong candidate with a great track record. So I think we're all really looking forward to him joining the team to take us on to our next stage of our journey.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Sarah.
That's all right. So my next bits are on Haverhill in the Park, but I don't know whether, Colin, you want to handle that in a separate section, or for me to talk about the bits that I'm here to talk about now, or wait.
Well, the very next section is events. So if we finish off on the art centre, and then we're happy to do a double act, just in case if you're doing what Steve Marsh has briefed on, then that's absolutely fine, because obviously he sent it to me and you.
Yeah. Now, well, I've got a little bit extra on the ticketing side.
All right. So just do art centre stuff at the moment, and then we'll do events under the next section.
That is my art centre stuff done then.
Okay.
Can I just, before you get on to events, sorry.
Well, I've got something else on the art centre as well.
Sorry, Colin.
Just in terms of the recovery of those slate tiles, which was done last night by the team that started putting up the bunting in the high street, is that every few years, I think every 5 or 6 years, the town council has had to put scaffolding up around the art centre to address the decoration of the windows, the clearing of the gutter, and on this occasion, addressing some of the roofing issues. There's, because the 2 tiles have been removed, there is a physical hole, and there are other tiles that have slipped, and there's some dodgy flashing up there as well. I took my drone up and did some filming of it so that tech could have a look at the roof, and they identified quite a few places where there were issues. And obviously the guttering is a real issue, because that's absolutely full of grass. It means a lot of damp is not leaving the guttering, and obviously it could also end up going down the walls. So I've said to Gary he's going to have to get some quotes in, get scaffolding and a roofer, a general builder for clearing the guttering, and looking at the windows, etc. It's expensive, but the length of the building and the confines of the site, it's just the cost. There is such a thing as a cherry picker that's big enough to actually do the lot, but the hire per day of that cherry picker is practically the higher cost for having scaffolding up for several weeks. So it's actually, we can get far more done by going the scaffolding route, which is unfortunate. But, I think it was 2015 was the last time scaffolding was up. So 7 years, such is life.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, having been involved last night, we knew how difficult it was to get that genie up there just to take those 2 tiles off.
Yeah.
And they're massive tiles as well. They look small from down below. Okay. Yeah. So that's something expense coming up. So I'm just going to make the art centre very quickly before we get into events. Interesting, because I did go to the Goldilocks Panto over in Southwold with the team. It was interesting that Hunstanton, Diss and Hastings were the other 3 places they did. They sold out pretty well, but of course it's their particularly Hunstanton and Hastings, and particularly Hunstanton. In fact, Hunstanton oversold, but of course it was bank holiday weekend in Hunstanton. So we thought when we went to Southwold it would be packed. But as I said earlier on, Southwold, which is normally nose to tail cars on a bank holiday weekend, there's hardly any cars around and not many people. And I think that reflected in the sales, that particularly that weekend and leading up to that weekend, which is obviously when we held ours. And you're dead right, Sarah, about the number of shows we put on. I think, far too many. But I think one of the problems was that a lot of people had actually gone abroad, because you saw that from the statistics of the airports. And I think, you know, where they were doing staycations a year before, they've all decided to go abroad. And even the people in Southwold, my relative who runs a house cleaning business for rentals, said her business is down 60% because people were not renting. So I think, you know, it's just a shame. I think, you know, coming out of COVID and everything, in another year, we might be better. Sorry, Dave Smith, Councillor Dave Smith.
On that last point, you know, I speak to former Councillor Fox, William Fox today, and he's air traffic controller, and he's saying that the levels are up to about where they were in 2017. So more people are going away now. So that run, and we're seeing it where I work for the amount of foreign currencies being sold. Question though was around the contrasting and comparing the different strategies for advertising. Whether you send out leaflets, whether you do emails, are you really comparing like with like? I mean, there might be in one section some very popular shows, and another section some, you know, sort of edgy sort of stuff, which not many people will generally go to. Can you really get a true comparison?
Well, you can't. It's a art rather than a science, but I think, even taking into account, you'll be able to see a certain pattern. But I do know that if we had a couple of brilliant a couple of brilliant shows, then that would skew the results. But if you know that, then you can take that into account. So yeah, absolutely. It's not 100% oranges with oranges, but hopefully we've got enough knowledge of our programme to be able to look at the numbers intelligently rather than just take them as read.
Yeah. Also, we went to see the Booming Voices show the other night, and it deserved a bigger audience really, because it was very enjoyable. So that was a shame. And talk about sort of like bar staff. I mean, every time we're there, Helen's there. I think we were there sort of like 5 days in a row, and Helen was behind the bar and doing this, that, and the other. So we thought she was the only one that worked there, you know. But
so she's been working hard.
I think we got some good show. You know, we got this Sunday we got the one with Sue Hodge and Jeremy Holland from Heidi High and everything coming. I don't know what last time I looked, the ticket sales were pretty poor.
Yeah.
We got Blackadder from Centre Stage, Blackadder 2 rather, from Centre Stage coming up the end of the month, I think, isn't it? Something like that. Again, ticket sales were poor, and even well-known acts. I think people like Rich Hall, I think it's in July.
He's getting there, but
you know, somebody who's on a well-known comedian, you would have thought would sold out very quickly, but it's really weird. But I think you're right, Sarah. I think the cost of living is a big factor now.
I just wish everyone would shut up about it, really.
Tony, were you going to say something, Tony?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'd back what David said, that people haven't been abroad for 2 years, and there's a huge pent-up demand for people, and a lot of their money is going, you know, abroad at the moment. You can't blame people having to get out to the sun, etc. Hopefully, it'll come back our ways. But as Sarah was saying earlier, certain programs have attracted, you know, quite good numbers. So, you know, maybe it's a little bit of a programming thing. I don't know.
It could be a programming thing. The ones that I think are particularly struggling are the ones with a slightly older audience. So some of the folky stuff is down by 50%, I'd say. And I don't know whether that's because of the profile of the audience. They're a little bit older. Maybe they're a little bit more cautious due to COVID, but there's all sorts of factors. And yeah.
All right. I've got Councillor Miller-Jones and then Councillor Liz Smith.
Yeah, I actually was just about to say that I was wondering if age was a factor, because I know that often our programming, a fair bit of it is sort of geared towards older audiences, and I do think COVID has had an impact on the way older people do feel about going out into crowded public places. I mean, I know quite a few sort of pensioners who are very cautious now. So I do wonder, I know that Sarah said earlier about this apprentice who's looking at sort of, younger people and looking at that side of things. And I do wonder if that would actually help if we sort of tried to get a bit more balance in our programming between sort of the things aimed at older audiences and perhaps things aimed more at sort of, teenagers and young adults that might, because they're the least cautious sort of generation.
I think we should be particularly looking at people sort of 20 to 35, something like that, because the younger people don't have the money and they're not really interested in anything other than junk food and going out, really. But I think getting those people in their 20s and their early 30s in will give us a longer bash at their dollar bill, because they'll be in the art centre and doing things for longer. And we are very heavily skewed towards the 60s and the 70-year-old age group.
Yeah. Councillor Liz Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to, Dave mentioned we went to see Booming Voices, and just to reflect on that, the audience was, not very big, but it was quite elderly as well. And the message coming from Booming Voices, it sort of was about the Broads and that sort of thing. And it had a very environmentally message, environmental message about the impact of climate change and stuff like that, which I thought would have been probably more interesting for younger people as well. And I don't know whether the audience could have been targeted a bit better, perhaps from their own advertising at Eastern Angles, because I don't think it was just an old people's type of event where it was sort of reminiscing, which I think was probably some of the marketing material sort of made it look a bit like that, like reminiscing on the Broads. But it was really about the science and the environmental issues of the Broads. So I think it could have been, much more targeted, if you like, the advertising.
I'll get on to Councillor Brown. I know you do it, Sarah, but I wonder if therefore the emphasis should be more on things like Instagram and things like that, which is targeted to those younger people.
We
do
Instagram and all that stuff, all that young person stuff now, but Eastern Angles has always attracted, whatever they do. They did a performance about the refugee experience, which you'd think is quite a right-on thing for young people that they might enjoy. But again, I think plays, unless they have a high music content, are a really hard sell for young people.
Okay.
And I think programming wise, we shouldn't necessarily get Eastern Angles. We should be trying to get something a little bit more targeted towards younger people.
Okay. Councillor Brown.
We're talking about this now, but I say we've got is it Dan that's starting in a month's time. It'd be really interesting to see what his take on all this is, and which direction he wants to take and put his spin on things, etc. So it could be really interesting times. He may have some
he's got,
really good ideas.
He's got a good CV, and also a youngish person, if I'm allowed to say that. That'd be
really interesting.
Right. Should we move on to events? Sarah?
I
don't know, Sue or Colin. I don't know.
Colin, do you want to start?
Who's doing the double act?
If I do kind of the general kind of events and just kind of fill you in on where we're going with the events at the moment. Just kind of running through the events in order. Next week we have the Festival of Suffolk Torch Relay that is coming up on the Tuesday. John, have we asked you to arrange with Joan to see if she wants a lift down to the...
I saw an email from something to Joan, but I don't know Who arranging what? I'm
Right.
speaking to Joan. I left
I'll
it.
have a conversation offline with you then.
Yeah, okay, fine.
But basically, we've arranged for a police escort for the e-rickshaw coming to the town hall to be greeted by, will be actually the new mayor, and we'll have hopefully our van providing some music behind. We're going to put a couple of tenor horns on top of the van to play some suitable music to attract attention to the fact it's coming through. I don't know. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of a crowd of curiosity, people coming out to have a look and see what's going on. But they'll arrive at the town hall, and then the next day, the second torchbearer heads out and goes to Westfield School, where their great-granddaughter is at school and will actually be on the rickshaw, and then heads off out to East Town Park, where our people will come off the rickshaw, and the rickshaw will then make its way through to Keddington and away through to Sudbury, etc., which I think is where it finishes. So that's all done and dusted. That's all arranged. We're just busy making sure we've got all the staff we need. I think we're looking for a few volunteers to man the routes, but obviously we're hoping the councillors, if they're available, will actually be at the reception to greet the torchbearer. So there's a little bit of a fuss made about them. So that's the torch bit. We've then got the Platinum Jubilee event, which John and Tony have been on the organising committee for, and that looks really fantastic. So there'll be a big video wall on the Market Square for people to come down and enjoy what we put on. It is a concert by Stereo Jacks with some video footage of life and times of the Queen, things that have been going on during her reign, but also we'll be able to beam in footage from what's nationally going on, so people who can tear themselves away from their TV, and they'll still be able to catch what's going on nationally, but also get the actual kind of, hopefully, the buzz of the event. We'll be lighting a beacon on top of St Mary's. We're one of 3 anchor beacons for Suffolk. So we're lighting that on top of the church tower. And then there's some more music. There's readings, etc. So it all looks very good. Then the big lunch on the Sunday the 5th. That's in association with with the Haverhill show. And that's a relaxed family affair, but we'll be putting on kind of children's running races, etc. Andy Paladin's providing the music. So hopefully people will come along. Hopefully we have bright sunshine and they can enjoy the recreation ground. They can relax. They can use a splash pad, buy a few ice creams from our kiosk, and generally have a good time. Then we've got Armed Forces Day, the actual flag raising, and then the Armed Forces Day event with the convoy. Again, Tony and John are centrally involved in that, and that's all coming together very nicely, and a fairly kind of well set out kind of occasion for when the convoy gets back. There'll then be kind of stalls, etc., on the Market Square, which will keep people amused.
And in the churchyard, by the way.
And in the churchyard, yeah, thank you. We're obviously supporting the Haverhill show. There'll be a grant application coming forward next week for that. The big day out, just to say that we, I don't quite know why, but Stocks Fun Fair have booked the recreation ground for that time. So we're going to have to find another date, although it was the comparative date that we were originally planning for. So I don't know whether they've shifted theirs or something like that, because we don't normally clash. So I don't know why we've suddenly clashed this time around, but we'll sort out a new date for that. But we have had organisations asking us if they can take part, which is good. And the outdoor theatre, Outspoken Theatre, that has for a few years been at the East Town Park, they've decided not to go ahead this year. So that event won't be happening. That's not our event in any case, but it is one we've supported. Picnic in the Park will go ahead. The Chalkston Fun Day is coming along very nicely. That's in association with the Chalkston Community Centre, and a lot of community groups on the Chalkston are working on that. So it promises to be quite a fun day, lots of different groups putting on displays, etc. So that's really good to see. The Clements, we're kind of waiting for a decision from, there's a group that Jay Mills is working with to decide whether or not the Clements are going to want a fun day. I think that the focus for that community has been a street party for the Jubilee, which is absolutely fantastic. That's really good. So whether or not they'll want to do two things, we'll have to wait and see. Then we'll talk about Haver in the Park separately, and then after that, Haver in the Park is the last summer event, and then after that we get into the autumn events of the Halloween Trail onwards, and those things we're kind of doing the long range planning, but not any detailed planning at this point, because we've got events that are looming right now. So if I can talk particularly about the Haver in the Park. So this is the replacement for the tribute nights that we've been historically putting on the Market Square. And this is bringing it off the Market Square onto the recreation ground for the 19th, 20th and 21st of August. So instead of two separate 3-hour tribute nights, it's a 3-day festival with about 20 hours of music. So focus very much on local. There's not completely and utterly local, but vast majority we're looking for local, for community groups, for local bands, etc. And Steve Marsh is leading on that. That's coming together, I think, really well, but it's a family weekend. Sarah is putting together a craft program as well to accompany that. I've got a few tasters. If I can share a screen, can just kind of show you where Steve's planning is going. So let's just do a different thing. Let's do that one. There. So basically, this is the plan for the recreation ground. This is the splash pad, children's play. That the kiosk is up here. So it's this bottom area. The bandstand is somewhere around there. So it's this bottom quadrant is where we're planning on holding the event. There'll be catering inside, there'll be a bar inside, SIA staff on all the entrances and exits. We have a area for disabled people to be able to watch from. They'll have their own sets of toilets there, and we're looking at setting up a gazebo with a carer and a bed commode and a hoist there, so it'll be a changing spaces provision there. We're not planning on using the Mobiloo proposal, as it's extremely expensive, and it's a bit unproven. Whereas we know what we need, and actually having a professional carer we think is a better idea. So this hopefully is a good area. We've talked through the police on this. Licensing, we'll need a TENS license for it, so we can get going on that. just a little bit on the, let's have a look where I want to go to. Let's come out of this. So I just want to talk about the budget.
Can I just, while you're looking that up, Colin, you mentioned 20 hours of music. Are we going to do other types of artist entertainment? We spoke about dance or centre stage wanting to do something and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we threw lots of ideas around, and Steve is bringing it together. I perhaps use music in its kind of slightly more broad term than it would normally be able to bear. But yeah, so it could be some other, it's 20 hours of entertainment, certainly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Brown, while Colin's finding that.
Yeah, just a quick one. Can we give the Churchill retirement home as much notice as they can, so they can prepare themselves? Because
they'll be out there boogieing.
Well, hopefully, yeah. But I'm just saying, as long as they know, weeks and weeks in advance, they can't say, "Oh, no one told us." So yeah, just
sure.
There's our nearest neighbour. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. The speakers are all pointing away from them, but it might bounce back off the trees from the other side of the park. So yeah, it's fair comment.
Councillor Miller-Jones.
What's the capacity of that area? Because it seems to me quite small, and I'm just wondering sort of what capacity we're thinking of.
So capacity wise, we're not expecting it to exceed. Is it? I think we're saying 2,500 as a maximum, aren't we? So that's the limit we're expecting. The tribute nights got up to, we think, possibly 3,000 as a maximum. But the difference is, of course, is that if you want to come out and hear live music on a summer evening or on a summer's day, the tribute nights condense the chance of that experience down to a very small period of time. Whereas if you've got young children, you could decide that you want to come out and listen to the music that's playing from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or the activities going on from 1 o'clock in the afternoon through till 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And you don't actually need to stay up with children till kind of 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So if you think about all those families are there, they can spread themselves out. They can choose their genre of music they're interested in. And it's free, so they can come and go as often as they like. So we're not expecting the numbers of people at any peak time to be like a tribute night, simply on the basis that there's no need for people to come along and listen to Saturday night only, as obviously the tribute nights force that. If you want to hear music, you're going to have to all be there. Everyone who wants to listen to music will have to be there between 7 and 9 on a Saturday night, whereas we're saying any time from 1 o'clock on Friday till 5 o'clock on Sunday.
So I was wondering about the practicalities. I was about to ask if it's ticketed, but assuming it's just turn up, does that mean there's going to be someone with some sort of clicker, and then they're going to say at some point, "Sorry, we're full"?
Yeah, precisely that.
So
this is the bit that I wanted to talk about. So originally, when it was conceived, there wasn't going to be any ticketing, but I'm strongly advocating that we do have some form of ticketing, so we can perform a load of data capture, because we could have, say, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people, and we wouldn't know who the flip they were or where they lived in Haverhill or anything like that. And so for marketing purposes, I think we should be going towards free tickets, working along the model that the Fitzwilliam Museum had in just recently, maybe even still, for their David Hockney exhibition. So it was, if you booked your free ticket, you got a guaranteed entry, but people could still turn up on the day. So it's sort of building in the scarcity thing, so it gets a bit of promotion that way. And then you can also, if you do it this way, add in, as Fitzwilliam Museum did, voluntary donations at the checkout. So there's a bit of an income stream there as well.
Councillor Lucarini?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm dead against ticketing. Obviously, this event is taking place over a long period of time, so people are naturally going to come and go throughout the course of the day, depending on your interest, whether you're coming for a certain genre of music or a certain kind of entertainment. So having to get a ticket.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to get a ticket. It's a dual approach.
So what's the point? Then what's the point? I wouldn't worry about
the marketing and the data capture that we're going to get. We're going to get so much information.
I disagree, Sarah, because we've done it with like the Halloween trail and that. We had complaints. It just puts people off. But personally, I don't think people are interested in getting a ticket. It's a bit like the tribute night. So if they're successful because people can just turn up, and once people hear about it, obviously we're moving locations, which is a bit of a risk in itself, and I hope it pays off for us. But it kind of needs, once it appears on social media that night, we are probably very reliant on the fact that people will just start coming down as they start hearing about what's going on.
But if you were going to go to why didn't the Fitzwilliam Museum, for example, then say we're just going to let people come in? They could see the value in capturing data, and I'm proposing a dual approach, so we'd be able to get some data and people can still turn up on the day.
Well, we can. I just think you'll end up with probably very few tickets sold and a lot of people turning up on the day. Obviously, it's very different to a museum. I understand why they did it, but it is a community event. I don't think it should just be an opportunity to grab our residents' data.
All right, let's move on to Councillor Miller-Jones, then Dave Smith. Councillor Dave Smith.
So I can see both points of view here. I lean towards siding with Aaron on this, on the basis that as someone who would go to events and want to pop in and out, I can understand the sort of negative side of needing a ticket. I know Sarah's saying we wouldn't actually need a ticket, but so, okay, right, sorry, my thoughts are all jumbled. So I can see the benefit of ticketing in the sense that if somebody's maybe traveling a bit further or wants to be really sure that they can get in to see a particular act on a particular night that might be busy, then they can book a ticket and then they're sure that they can get in when capacity might be high. But at the same time, I would be very wary about suggesting to members of the public, you're going to need a ticket in case you can't get in, because that's going to put off walking customers and you might end up with barely anyone there because too many people have thought, oh, I don't have a ticket, it might be full, I'm not going to risk going down there and getting turned away. And I think that's the big danger, which would lead me towards either being against ticketing or having the option of ticketing but not pushing it, because I do think it may well put people off. And I know that if I was going to an event where they said, oh, you might need a ticket in case we're full, that might make me think, oh, I'm not going to bother because they're probably going to be full.
Okay. Councillor Dave Smith and Councillor Tony Brown.
Yeah, I can understand the reason behind the dual ticketing and whatever approach, but I just think it's confusing. It confuses the public. If they think they've got to get a ticket, which to guarantee a place, yes. But a lot of people, I think, at these sort of events just turn up on the off chance. And it's also dependent on the weather. If they're not sure what the weather's going to be like, they're going to make the decision at the last minute. And if they think, well, there's no point because we haven't got a ticket, we might not get in, they're not going to turn up. So, and anyway, it's a reasonably small area. People would just stand outside the perimeter, wouldn't they? Because they'd still be able to hear from the rest of the park. So,
Councillor Tony Brown.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards not having tickets. In my personal view, for a couple of reasons. One is that it's going to be the tech savvy people that basically hoover up all the tickets, and they may not even turn up. It's just think just because they can, because they're free. And you're always going to get people. I know that you said that it's not all going to be tickets, but people around the town are going to hear the music, even however much you advertise it, and think, it's a nice night, let's go down, grab the family and go down. I'm just a little bit concerned that, tickets will put people off. I know they're going to be free, etc. I just hope would be another way we could harvest data, etc., etc. But I'm not for it. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to make a big debate out of this at the moment because we're conscious of time as well.
Yeah, just before the councillors come back in to say that as all the councillors have spoken and all said the same thing, I think we can probably park this particular discussion and move on because there's quite a bit more to discuss about this event.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. There's no point reversing backwards and forwards over this, as all councillors have said exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything different, Councillor Luccarini?
Yeah, I'm just about to go. We're going to start putting the bunting up again. I just wanted to say, obviously, I think that everyone's put some great work into this so far. I think it's a really exciting event for Haverhill. Hopefully, the start of something here. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll see you a bit later on.
Okay,
right.
Shall I
do you want
continue?
to carry on, Colin?
Yeah. So basically, just in terms of some feed-in from Steve Marsh, just to say this is the plan at the moment. It's kind of different types of moods, provide something for everybody. So Friday, the proposal is for kind of what he describes as party stroke pop style, starting from 6 and finishing with Stereo Jack, who are also actually playing the Jubilee on the Thursday, the 2nd. Then Saturday from noon till 10 p.m, community fun for the day with arts and craft activities, stalls, local arts groups and acts, the local acts performing on stage during the day. Then a just under 2 hours Britpop live show with local support provided by Haverhill's Totally Wired. That's still to be confirmed. Then on the Sunday, noon till 6 p.m. is described as a bit of a chill out day. Arts and craft activities, stalls, entertainment all based around an acoustic vibe with some local acts, Silver Band, and something called the Ultimate Acoustic Band, which I have heard and looked really quite impressive, to finish the weekend. Basically, putting all the event together, obviously we have to plan for quite a lot of people, for quite a lot of things. So the budget, originally we kind of thought, oh, well, we can take 2 tribute night days and then work with that budget. We're perhaps not really thinking straight, of course. If we're taking the budget for providing 6 hours of music and going to try and provide 20 hours of entertainment and music, and obviously, not surprisingly, it does cost more than 13,000. The estimate for it is between 25 and 30,000 pounds to put the whole event on. But actually, if you take that by the hour in terms of the actual times that the stage is busy being used, etc., it's actually about £700 an hour less expensive to do the 3-day thing than it is to do just 2 nights. It's obviously because once you pay for a stage on the tribute night, we just take it straight back down again, whereas obviously for this it stays up. And other things, there'll be sort of cumulative savings. So what I wanted to do was just share the events kind of budget where we are at the moment. So hopefully you can see that. It's not too small. Is that too small for you? Is that readable?
It's all right for me. I don't know. Anybody else?
Okay.
They look like all okay. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, just in terms of the prior year, of course, is 2019. It's not during COVID, but the budget we're kind of looking for. We've looking at these costs. I think some of them we might come in under budget, but we're seeing that costs are higher right across the board in terms of any individual item. We can see that the cost of living thing that Sarah was talking about is absolutely playing out. Everything's a little bit more expensive. but there's a few things obviously that aren't going to happen, which had been paid for to begin with. So the annual budget that was approved was 98,700. All in all, when you jiggle it round, we're looking at more like a maximum of 107.5. However, we do actually maintain a events earmark reserved, and that was maxed out to the limit of that reserve at £15,000 in year one of the pandemic, because of course nothing happened. And one of the aspirations that councillors talked about in a previous meeting was that they really wanted to see events come back with a bang. And for what Sarah was saying about attendances at the Arts Centre, it could well be that actually, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel and really, really give something a good spin to encourage people back out. And perhaps whilst people are nervous about being inside a building like the Arts Centre, an open air event over several days, particularly if we enjoy some good weather, may well, get people that bug. Particularly if people are struggling financially, the fact that there's going to be something free happening, as always, I think is good. So what I would like to ask the working party, if they're willing to recommend to full council that we dip into the earmark reserves for events in order to make sure we can underwrite Haverhill in the Park. Steve has done a great job in terms of lining up bands, but he can only pencil them in. He needs to say to them, I can book you. So we really are at a kind of go, no go point in terms of we need councillors here to say we support this happening, so that we can book those acts. Well, what Steve is finding, of course, no surprises, is that some of the acts that he's targeted are getting offers elsewhere, and he really doesn't want to lose his headlines particularly, but some of his second top bands as well. Otherwise, of course, whilst we're busy talking about it, we won't be able to do it after all, because there'll be no music left. There'll be no bands left to play. So Councillor Biller-Jones has a question. Is it about this budget, or can I take that down?
It wasn't a question. I just wanted to say that I fully support that, because that's exactly what the reserve is for.
Yeah, I was going to propose it anyway, but I'm just wondering, there is a question mark over the big day out, as you said, Colin, about because of the Stocks Fun Fair. And there's a lot of
only a timing thing.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot of other events on in August, so it could be that we've got a hand on heart, maybe think, do we want to do the big day out as well? Considering, the 19th to 21st event is going to have stuff on it as well. Because what I'm referring to, there's £9,000 there, obviously, that we may want to think about. But I would fully propose it. Are we happy that the 108,700? Are we allowing any contingency there?
It does allow contingency.
That's okay. All right. So if I'm allowed to, I'd like to propose that we agree to that. So I'm looking for a seconder on that. Councillor Tony Brown got his hand up just before you, Councillor Biller-Jones. Sorry. So unless anyone else has got any comments at all, I've always wanted the tribute nights to be replaced by something that's more local. We spend a lot of money on the acts, some of which are, better than others, maybe. The only thing, I'm looking at Councillor David Smith and wondering why you're not in the lineup. But anyway. So unless someone's got
too expensive.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, okay. You do it for nothing, he told me. So, Councillor Tony Brown.
Yeah, quick one. Yeah, just say well done for everyone that's put their heads together for this. It's going to be really exciting. So, brilliant. Just cross fingers for the weather. That's
right. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, is there going to be a bar or anything there? Or
yes,
there'll be a bar there. So hopefully, there could be some income from that in terms of the commission we'll take from whoever runs the bar. Hopefully that will help offset. It depends how thirsty people are. Yeah, I will pass that on, Tony. What's been really nice is actually it's been quite a group of the tech team, Sarah, Gary, myself, all getting involved, Saffron as well. So it's a good team effort, and I think everyone's kind of quite enjoying getting a chance to get their teeth into things.
Yeah, that's great. Councillor Miller-Jones, quickly, because we've got to move on.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, food-wise at the event, can we please make sure there are some good vegan options for food?
Well, so what I can say we are making sure of is that Saffron is trying her best, but actually, if you have any proposals, any suggestions, that would be really useful, because Saffron is really pulling her hair out. Saffron is a vegetarian, and she is really struggling to find people who are willing to come along.
Yeah, she has actually emailed me, and I did send her a list of suggestions.
Good. She's probably working through them.
Yeah, so hopefully, but I mean, I don't know. I'll keep thinking. I'll send some more to her.
She was completely baffled because she felt like there were loads of things everywhere. But obviously, one thing is, of course, is that we are a little bit Johnny-come-lately to this, and so a lot of them are simply saying, "Oh no, I'm already doing a festival down in the West Country or wherever it might be."
Right, so I've proposed and Councillor Brown seconded. All those in favour, please show to recommend to full council. Lovely, thank you very much indeed. Was there anything else on events before we quickly move on?
I don't know whether Sarah's got anything else on events.
I mean, we spoke about the long-term stuff, but yeah. Okay. Right, shall we move on to item 8, Charlie C, for new skills, and you've had all the paperwork earlier today. Hopefully you've had a chance to read it. First of all, on Karen's side of things, was there anything anyone had any comments on? Again, usual thing, they've done really well over there. Okay, well, I mean, she's done really well considering, unfortunately, Dan's off sick at the moment. Okay, thank you. Well, thank you to Karen for that. Moving on to the zone and Sandra's and Sue's and the team's efforts. Sorry, Councillor Tony Brown.
Yeah, well done to the team down there. Seems to be really going the right way. I did notice on Sandra's bit there that she said that I think it was at the Easter bank holiday weekend that they had a really successful. Was it Good Friday? But not so good. Potentially is that just a marketing thing? I don't know.
I think it was this thing we saw about the Goldilocks thing we were talking about earlier on. A lot of people went abroad, and as Councillor Smith has said earlier on about the airports and everything, I think it was relatively well marketed, but a lot of people, of course, didn't know that, but they'd already planned to go away on for bank holiday.
No, it just seems
and the weather was decent as well.
Yeah, it just seems strange that one day was very busy, but the others weren't.
Because it's always open on a Friday anyway.
Right. Okay.
I think that's the subtle difference. This is an unusual thing.
No, but well done down there. It seems to be going the right way. Yeah.
But all the other stuff that they've been doing with the on the spot ban, and I know we've got a few antisocial behaviour problems at the moment in town.
There's been some really good engagement recently. The police are really pleased to see that's working. They supported our decision not to run a youth club down at the zone for that particular group. They thought our assessment was probably correct, that it wasn't wise. But the good news is there's been a little bit of the police's actions have helped divert some of the young people away from that group in any case, and hopefully we're just beginning to kind of chip away at just them finding better ways to use their time.
Yeah, I know. I know a couple of incidents at least. Okay. Okay, nothing else on the zone and that side of things at all. Again, a good report. I think I support Tony Brown. I go down there quite regularly for various things to do technical stuff and everything. It's always very busy down there. Have you project? Any comments on that? That seems to be moving along with some future plans as well. Michelle's project. So how long's Michelle around for? Colin, do you know?
Another end of June, I think it is.
End of June, something like
Yeah.
that. I remember exactly the time.
But what was interesting to see is that the comparative data between, say, April 21st and April 21 and April 22, that in the course of the year, you know, some of the stuff on Facebook numbers, etc., have more than doubled. So it's good to see that there is some traction there.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments on that? We'll move swiftly on to item 9 then. First of all, the Hayville Public Service Cadets, or Emergency Cadets as we know them, which are run by Cheryl Claydon from the police and Mark Turley from the fire brigade. Personally, they do a fantastic job, certainly engaging with young people we've spoken about earlier on. So I personally have no problem with this one. But anyone thoughts on the fact they want £270 to be able to go to a event over at Martlesham, Councillor Brown?
Yeah, what a bargain. Yeah,
I know.
Youngsters going away for a weekend just for a couple of £100 from the town council. It's absolute bargain. I hope they have a lovely time. Hopefully,
and they can use the same equipment again.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's not a one-off thing.
No.
Yeah, they're always there. You know, they've you know, Cheryl and a team. You know, often at the events, they're going to be at the Armed Forces Day and all that sort of stuff. If I'm allowed to, unless anyone's got any comments, I will propose that we grant them £270 as they've requested. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Liz Smith. Lovely, thank you very much. All those in favour, please show. Lovely, thank you very much. Right, moving on to Hayville Towns Women Guild, who want, I think it was £60. I've got the paperwork here somewhere, for an event at somebody's house, which seemed a little bit unusual to me. But Councillor David Smith.
Maybe it's me, but they're asking for £60 and they seem to have like £1,000 in their bank account. It just seemed a bit strange to me, unless I'm reading their accounts wrong. I mean, I've got no problem giving them £60, but yeah, it just seemed a bit. I couldn't understand why they were asking when they seem to have that money in reserve.
Yeah, I had some sort of things about it. The fact it was basically a private party. I got the impression. I mean, maybe me being cynical. I don't know. Sorry. Any thoughts, Colin? Did you have any background to this at all?
Well, it's the Townswomen's Guild meeting around somebody's house. I don't know whether 20 of them is kind of 20 people who are a particular bit of the Townswomen's Guild who are all pals, or whether that's the total membership of the Townswomen's Guild at the moment. They're putting £60 in the pot. They're asking us to put £60 in the pot for them to have a little bit of a celebration. I suppose we should be grateful that groups like Townswomen's Guild seem to have survived the pandemic. Obviously, quite a lot of social groups have struggled a bit. I don't know. I thought, this is a little bit cheeky, but I thought it's £60 and it's a Diamond Jubilee, and it's too late for anybody else to apply. So I don't know. I can't. Yeah, there's all sorts of reasons to say no, but you know, do you want to?
Yeah, Platinum Jubilee, by the way.
Platinum Jubilee. Sorry, yes.
Councillor Liz Smith.
I agree. I don't think we should say no to this. I mean, it's £60 and it's, you know, it's a small amount really, and you know they're matching it for this on this occasion. So yeah, I don't see the problem with that.
Yeah, like sorry, John. Yeah, like Colin said, it's a community group. Just thank the Lord that they're still there after, you know, what's happened over the last couple of years, and £60 isn't a great deal. Let's help them out.
That's fine. So have we got a proposer then, please? Councillor Liz Smith. Have we got a seconder then, please? Councillor Tony Brown. All those in favour, please show. Can't see me out. There it is. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 9C for Charlie, the Silver Band. They want £5,000 to go down to London to what I classify as blast-off type film type thing. Councillor Liz Smith, first of all.
Yeah, yes, I was really impressed with them winning their the region, whatever it was they won. I went to their last concert at the Art Centre, and had my photo taken in front of the trophy. So that was that was a great occasion. You could see how much they've put into this, talking to them, and I think it's a fantastic advert for Haverhill, if you like, for them to be taking part in the national championships, because they are a lot of, Dave was talking about it earlier, there are a lot of professional musicians in those other bands that will be competing, and I think we should back this fully. Thank you.
So we need to get them to repeat Pete Postlethwaite in Brastoff and win the whole thing. Councillor Tony Brown.
Yeah, fully support this. I mean, to have Haverhill's name, is it going to be televised? I presume it is. It's a national event.
It will be, I suspect, if not televised, it will be filmed of some sort, I reckon.
Yeah. But, it's Haverhill's name there, and it's up there in a national competition. Let's help them out as much as we can. But also, I know they did mention it in the paperwork that they're going to approach district councillors for locality or West Suffolk, but they haven't been to me yet, and I don't know if they've been to other councillors. I'd willingly help them out with the locality if so required.
Can we, Colin, are we able to put them in contact with Lizzie Cocker?
We certainly can do. I wondered, looking at it, because I thought, wow, that's quite a lump of money. But yeah, I absolutely agree with the sentiment. And again, we want them to come and play for us at the festival in any case, and they'll be arguing over how much they charge us. So I was thinking that actually, if councillors thought it was a good idea, given that, I guess that obviously they're in a hurry. The clock ticks as soon as you win one round and through to the next. It's all set. If councillors are willing to say that you'll underwrite the 5,000 so they can get on with their arrangements, but encourage them to still try and spread the love and get a few other people to invest in them as well, and then obviously whatever they're short by, they know at least we're going to pick up the rest of the tab.
Yeah, because I did notice that they mentioned Persimmon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Red Road do a similar scheme, as do Tesco's and those other people, of course, and that other well-known store that I'm not allowed to mention.
As I say, I struggled to use my locality budget the last couple of years over COVID anyway. And I think other councils are in a similar position. So hopefully there's a good chunk of money there for them to get hold of, and it's coming from the borough, from the district anyway. So, let's get that drawn on first.
Well, also someone like Lizzie or John Eaton are the experts in where this money can come from. Suffolk Community Foundation, all these other people as well. It may be a bit, late, if you know what I mean. But
and as a reminder, district councils only have 7 months to spend their locality budget this year, because PERDA will stop them. It's usually much after January, everyone starts putting faces about letting you spend your money.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I think it sounds like we're happy with this. So I'll ask for a proposal. I'm quite happy to, but I'll ask for somebody else. Anyone? Councillor Tony Brown this time. Who would like to second, please? Councillor Liz Smith. Sorry, okay, just late. Okay, all those in favour, please show. Lovely, thank you very much. Any grant recipient reports, Colin? Item 10, nothing?
We'll ask Vicky to send out some chase letters, because I think it always is the case, and I think sometimes we get them in and don't realise that necessarily that they've come in. But did anyone else here get the feeling that there seems to be a lot more grant applications and grant thank you letters?
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, because we've always said that we were one of the things we did say about if someone comes back to us for another grant, they should at least tell us what they've done with the previous one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, item 11, dated next meeting, Tuesday, the 5th of July. Oh, time goes on, doesn't it? And finally, closing item 12 at 20:42.
What date in July was that, John? Sorry.
Tuesday, 5th of July.